Hello everyone, today we'll be making a guppy breeding patio pond. I hope to make this patio pond as cheap as possible and I will reveal the final price at the end of the video. These patio ponds are beautiful decorations to have around your house or simply just to use as breeding. Not everything I do in here you have to repeat, but this is just kind of what I'm doing. I also have a few other ones which I will show in future videos, but for this one it will just be a basic pond for breeding some guppies. My goal is to breed these beautiful feeder guppies. These guppies are basically just assorted guppies with multiple colors and patterns. They are often really cheap. I bought about 30 of these for $10. First we will start by purchasing a barrel which is 10 gallons or 40 liters. This barrel cost me $19. I bought this from Bunnings, but if you're out of Australia, I'm sure you can get this from somewhere like Home Depot. When we buy things for our aquariums or fish, we should always wash them beforehand. In this clip, I'm simply pre-washing anything that came from the factory where this barrel was made in. As you can see, I try to wash it as well as possible to prevent any damage from happening to my ecosystem that I'll be building in here. I rinse it out about 2 or 3 times before I set it up. We will be using this plant trolley to carry the pond on top in case I ever need to move it. This cost me $14 but is not needed. We will now place the barrel on top of the plant trolley and try to make it as centered as possible. This took me a bit of moving around, but eventually I got it centered. Normally I use sand as the substrate, but for this pond I'll be using a bunch of different rocks. These rocks are just around my house so they're free to me, and they're all just different sizes. This will also help add hiding spaces for my shrimps that I'll eventually add into here. Now here is a sped up clip of me placing all the rocks into here. As you can see, the rocks are not enough, so I had to go collect a little bit more just to cover up the bottom. After moving the rocks around, I collected another bucket, not bucket full, but like, you know what I mean, the same amount as before, and I just chucked it on top to help level out. This one I picked a lot more of the smaller rocks to help keep it more smooth, but as you can see, it's still a lot of different sizes. Now I'm going to make some space where I'll be putting the areas for my plants. And this is because I'm going to do something different to what I normally do. I'll show you guys in a second. Okay, so as you can see, I have these yellow plastic cups that I just had lying around. Not the prettiest color, but these are what I'm going to be using for the plants. I filled the yellow cup with just some potting mix up onto the line you see, which is about a third of the cup. This is so that soil doesn't leak into the water, but it has soil for the plants to dig their roots into. Now I'm just going to cap this with some rinsed sand. This is actually just some sand I got from the beach that I just had lying around, so after washing it a few times, I buried the soil. This will kind of help the plants as well, because once the plants grow their first few roots, I'll stick it in here, and then the roots will grow down into the soil. As you can see, I'm trying to get it as close to the top as possible and trying to make it as compact as possible. Because once it goes in the water, I feel like a few of the sand particles will just like fall out everywhere. But I'm not entirely sure, so we'll see what happens. I then repeat this for 2 more cups, so I have 3 cups in total. The first plant I'll be using is this really long water wisteria that I have. It already has a healthy root system, so this should settle in pretty well. The next plant is this temple plant that I have. I've just been floating it, so the roots have been growing a little bit here and there, but this should also settle in pretty well. And last we have this really tiny baby water lily. I've been growing this one from a lily pad by itself, and it's been growing pretty well. So I thought I would stick it in and see how it does. Now I'll put these cups where I want them to be in the pond. As you can see, I was trying to like move all the rocks around and find the perfect area where I would want them. You also have to take into consideration where you're putting your pond, so where the sun rises, which is why I'm trying to keep the cups in the area where there's light versus darkness. Now I will add the plants, starting with the water wisteria. As you can see, the sand is actually quite compact, so I have to stick the roots in quite far. But this should be good for the plant, if anything. The next plant I'll be planting is the temple plant. I've noticed that this plant, in my experiences, doesn't need that much light, so I put it into the area where the sun won't reach it as much. And last, we have our mini water lily. This one actually might not stay in very well, so I thought I might put some rocks on top of it to help keep it in, but trying not to cover the rhizome. And then I thought, why not just get some of the smaller rocks and put them next to the other plants to keep the roots in as well. Next, I'm going to put a cycled sponge filter in here. Okay, now the most boring part is slowly filling this up with water. So I just put my siphon into a bucket, and then I let the water slowly drain out, as you can see through that airline tubing. I was hoping that it didn't overflow the cups, but watching the footage now, I don't think any sand actually escaped the cup, so that's pretty good. After a while, I got bored and started just pouring cups in until it got to the tops of the cups with the plants, so that way that the plants still didn't leak out. The sand in the plants, my bad. But yeah, you get what I mean. There was also rubbish like small pieces of grass that I just had to pick out when I saw them. As you can see, I just had to keep pouring because the siphon actually like fell out the bucket and I had to restart it, and then it wasn't working. So then I had to try to restart it, and then eventually I just filled up the bucket again, and then it started working. But hold up, never mind, it's not even up to the part yet. Okay, now you can see that I have officially added water into the cups with the plants, and they weren't disrupted, which was such a win for me because every time I work with sand, it goes everywhere. Eventually I just filled up the rest of the cups, and then once it got really high, I just like poured the bucket in. And then now we have a full pond of water. I just used my net to like get rid of any of the debris that was on the top. As you can see, there's like little pieces of whatever on top, and I just netted them out. The water looks a bit cloudy, but I don't think there was anything I could do to prevent that. But the water wisteria was kind of sticking out, so I was hoping that it wouldn't grow out of the water too much. But we'll see how it goes. After netting out everything, I decided it's time to add some floating plants. So I got some nice healthy Amazon frogbit and just tossed them on top. These frog bits I got were actually not the best I had. That's why I put them out here, hoping they could get some more nutrients from when I add the feeder guppies. But I only added a few as well because, don't want it to overgrow too fast. I then decided to add some floating embulia. Whenever I finish adding water to an aquarium, I always add just a little bit of dechlorinator just to make sure it's dechlorinated properly. I always fill it up with dechlorinated water as well, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Now I can finally turn on the sponge filter. As you can see, it has a low flow, but this should do the job in filtering the aquarium. As you can see off that frog bed, a little bit of duckweed came off, and I really don't want duckweed in this pond, so I just took it out. And then I think that's practically it for setting up the pond. In order to see if this pond will be safe for the guppies, I decided to toss a few of these little bladder snails in there. Because honestly, I don't mind bladder snails, I actually have them in pretty much all my tanks. But a little piece of duckweed fell in again, so I had to take that out. But yeah, so I added a few bladder snails, and if they survived in the morning, then I would assume that it was safe for the guppies to go in. Okay, 3 days later, the snails were healthy, so I decided to put the guppies into a little container and start acclimating them to the pond. As you can see, these feeder guppies have so many different colors. Unfortunately, most of these were female. I think there were like 3 males in this whole entire bunch, so kind of sucks, but hey, I still like them. So for starters, I'm just going to temperature acclimate them by putting the container on top of the water. I think I filled it up too much because the water kept overflowing. I really hate it, but I keep getting so much duckweed in here. I had to take it all out. I also had some more plants that I was going to put in there though. So some more embulia. I also had some more floating water wisteria. And a little baby cryptocorean. As you can see, this is the little floating water wisteria. And that's the baby cryptocorean. I think by the time I'm recording this video, it's probably melted back again. This has melted on me like 20 times. Even in the same environment. And then lastly, I have some Java moss. Just a little bit to see how it grows. Now the next step after 5 minutes of floating is adding water to the container. So I add about 50% of what was originally in there. And then that will also help them acclimate to the water parameters. After repeating this 2 more times, I took the old water out and then I tipped all the guppies into a net. Ooh, I shook my setup a little bit there. You'll see it soon. But then I can't speak today. I tipped the container into a net, and then I had all the guppies, as you can see in here. They look so plain in the net. Then I add them into the water, and then you can just see their. Oh, never mind. I take it back. You can't really see the colors on the camera. Oh my god. But yeah, I'll show you what the colors look like in a second. Okay, so now you can see all the little guppies swimming through. You can see some of the ones with the red tails. Some of them have orange tails. There's one with a yellow tail. And then there's one with this really good platinum tail. Who I think at the moment is hiding in that little cave I have down there. The cave is mostly just there because it was in the other tank and I put it in here for beneficial bacteria. But I'll probably take it out in probably a few months. So I sprinkled a little bit of food on top, and then I took some footage with the camera. It's a little bit foggy because it's new, but you can see all the guppies there. There's so many. I really like how it turned out with all these different colored feeder guppies. Oh yeah, there you can see there was the one with the yellow tail that just went past. It's too bad the other one I really like isn't coming up, but I'll show you what he looks like in a few minutes when I actually find him. Okay, so I finally found him. As you can see, he has like that really nice shiny tail. It has some blue on it, some yellow, and he has like this antler guppy pattern on the side of him. I'm assuming he's just a crossbreed as these are feeder guppies. But he looks so nice, and I really hope he impregnates some of the females who can get some nice babies from him. And then the plants have also settled in. But yeah, um, I think I was focusing on the cave at the moment and the Java moss and the other plants. But I'm just gonna skip this clip for now and go to the next one. Okay, so about 5 days later, I decided to add my first liquid fertilizer into here, which is some Sea Chem Flourish. As you can see, I'm also acclimating some other fish, and those are just some baby platies that I had in my other tank. Those baby platies, once they reach maturity, I'll probably take them out. Okay, so another week later, I did another water test, and the water seemed to be pretty stable, so I found just a pair of my cold cherry shrimps because I wanted to see how they'll do. And then I decided to acclimate them in here. So I'm just showing them on the camera for now. The male's like really pale, and the female's, alright. But I just put my phone light on the side so you could see, and then I drip acclimated these shrimps for roughly 40 minutes only because it was night and there were so many mosquitoes around. Now after 45 minutes of acclimating, I decided to put them into the pond. And it seems they went in pretty well. As soon as they went in, I saw the female go into the cave, and the male went into that little bit of water wisteria on the side. Okay, so in total, this pond cost me $43 to make. To be honest though, I already had a lot of the stuff that I needed, so maybe if I brought everything brand new, it would cost me like $80. But considering I already had like half the things, it only cost me $43. So I reckon that's pretty good considering I'll breed a lot of guppies in this pond. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope you make yourself a nice, beautiful pond. And I hope to see you all in the future.